Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on Trigger Happy, a thriller movie that takes place in a weird sort of almost a pre-Fallout universe. I'm not so sure though. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. The links are in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 16. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. So this is a send up of, I don't know, it's like a traditional marriage gone bad. But like the weird thing is, you know, it's like you're sending up the 50s, and the 50s are long in the rear view mirror. So I'm not sure, the satire just feels super old. Screenplay by Daniel Moya, directed by Tiffany Kim Stevens. So it's about this dude named, I think his name's Ken, and he decides that he wants to go to the Bahamas, and he dreams about it, and he wants to win money, but he can't, so he's got to keep doing his terrible job that he doesn't like, and he decides, I think, to kill his wife. I think he does, and I think he makes an attempt, and he injures her, and she doesn't know for some reason, but then later he's trying to finish her off, and I don't know, it doesn't work. It's a weird movie. They're going for a satire about men and marriage, and it just doesn't work to me, because marriage is, we're almost in a post-marriage universe at this point. There's a lot of people who are just divorced. I mean, being divorced is more common, I think, than being married. In a lot of respects. So, doing this movie as if like, oh, most people are married and they're trapped in their loveless marriage or whatever, I just don't see it. It doesn't come off as funny. It just comes off as odd. And the same thing with this kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, this stuff kind of used to be a thing. Is it supposed to take place in the 50s? Maybe. It's kind of hard to tell. Doesn't feel like the 50s. I mean, it sort of does in a very cartoony way. But, yeah, so maybe it is. Maybe it is with all the... I like the design of it, I'll say that. It just seems to be... Like here he's gonna... What is he gonna do? Just stab her to death? I mean, that wouldn't have worked in the 50s to get caught. Blood all over the place. He's gonna burn down the house to get rid of the evidence. And even then, I don't know if it would have worked back then. I'm not sure if we're in the 50s. I guess we are. But the wife also works, and it's a lot of working women in this, and a lot of very diverse cast. So doesn't scream the 50s to me. Doesn't scream the 50s. Like, you kind of can't have it both ways, Hollywood. You can't be constantly saying, oh, everybody was racist. They're racist now. They were racist then. Everything's racist. And then you put on a show in that time period, and everybody's inclusive and married to all sorts of diverse people. It doesn't really send the message. And I don't think it's about racism or anything. It's just so weird. And what's all that stuff in the background? I don't know. I'm not... If this is some sort of alternate world, like Fallout, you really need to do a better job of prepping the audience for this. If it's supposed to be the 50s, I'm just not buying it. just doesn't scream the 1950s to me. It kind of does. It hints at it, but it feels more like Fallout, like an alternate world. But other than that, it's a very basic plot in that a guy wants to kill his wife to collect the insurance money so he can go to the Bahamas. Okay. Again, though, in the modern day, I mean, people go to the Bahamas for what it's worth. So it's hard to relate to this movie, and it's billed as a thriller movie, but it kind of looks like a ridiculous satire of life in this 50s or the modern. I don't think it's a modern day. So, not really buying this. Let's read the right. Well, first act, he's bored with his life. He hears about somebody getting an life insurance payout and decides, I'll kill my wife. Because things are going bad for Ken, I guess his name is. So he tries to kill her some way, but instead of dying, she's horribly injured and she has to wear a neck brace, and she somehow doesn't know he's the killer, but she suspects, and then she's worried he's going to try to finish her off, and then eventually he tries that, I guess. And then, I don't know, with a biting satire movie like this, he might actually get to the Bahamas, but then just find out it's, you know, if you're going for an ironic ending, he gets to the Bahamas and then he has an accident and then he's either dead or he's horribly injured and stuck in the Bahamas forever, you know, paralyzed from the neck down or something. Or he thinks he kills her and then it turns out she's not dead or something like that. Let's read the write-up here. Oh, George. It's George. I thought it was Ken. George Decker has a dream of escaping his life and jetting to the Bahamas, but getting there will mean finding a way to rid himself of his wife, his crushing debts, his demeaning 9-to-6 job, and an American culture that he feels has been specifically designed to torture him, reads the film's official synopsis. And Annie Decker, George's wife, has a dream too, booking the lead role of an infomercial for the Wow Sponge, which is the most watched television program in America. Yeah, so it seems kind of like anti-American, anti-marriage at a time when I don't really think this is going to land. I just don't think there's much of an audience for this. People don't want to see this kind of movie right now. Like back in the 80s, sure, you could have done this movie and you might have done some business. We were at the top of the world. You know, in the 50s, a movie like this would have been crazy daring. But now, another movie like this, it's not really quite working. It needs to be funnier or way meaner. I mean, if you're going to go for it, go for the jugular. Give us, like, a married couple that's completely out of control. Like a husband who's just as selfish as F. And maybe a wife too. Just make them the most disgusting Americans you could possibly think of, and then show us the culture like of just complete and utter excess and ridiculousness. If you're gonna do it, then you might have a shot. But this just seems like college level screenplay, man. To me. And then you call it trigger happy. I'm not sure. There's characters in the movie with guns. Doesn't feel like the 50s to me, you know. It feels like college students trying to do the 50s and they don't really have the money or the skill to do it. Now I didn't grow up in the 50s. I'm not that old, but like to me the 50s was always like you know, stilted people doing very traditional things. Sure, you could do the whole loveless marriage thing, but usually that was the result of the wife being very interested in her parties and fundraisers, and raising the kids, that kind of thing. Not that she was working at all. If that's what it's supposed to be. So, or if it's supposed to take place in the modern day, I mean, that just doesn't work at all for me. But it definitely feels like a world of its own. But there's not enough here, man. You needed something really funny here. Like, if it's going to be funny that he kills his wife should be a monster. Like, his wife should be just a total jerk who's just blowing all the money, and he can't get ahead, and he wants to take her to the Bahamas, but she just destroys their finances. Like that, sure. She doesn't seem that bad. She seems a reasonable one. He seems like a bit of a maniac. And you can do all kinds of stuff with the side characters. You can make them even crazier because you don't have to see the end results of their craziness. If you're going to send up Americans, send them to the moon. But I don't know why you build this as a thriller. I find no tension in this whatsoever. But I mean, I guess you're trying something different, Gravitas Ventures. So kudos for that. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on the green site, the orange site, and the black site for more videos. I will be at the Unexpected Farm Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 2. It's the alpaca farm. And it's snowing outside now. So so bundle up tomorrow. I'm going to be digging out the long underwear. Hope to see you there. We'll see you